Hey everyone, this is Connor Fox here, a tight end at Kansas State University, and you're listening to the FLOGcast Network.
Hello. Welcome back. Yes, to the FLOGcast Network. Jay Ruff in the house today. Glorious day. Glorious Tuesday morning here on the Flog. Today, I am joined by, that was weird. That was a
Yeah,
weird
that was
sound.
a high pitch.
I kind of squeaked in it today. I mean, heck, good for me. But today I'm joined by our guy behind the curtain. He is in front of the curtain today, Mr. Q. Balon. How's it going, Q?
It's going pretty good, man. We got a little echo. Do you hear that?
I hear your echo. Do I
Yeah,
sound good?
yeah. You sound good. Why are we echoing?
Oh, wow. You sound really echoey.
Um,
See, it's better for you just to be in
just being, yeah,
backstage.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, this is just a disaster already. It's your fault.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's gonna be
It's
on your
bad.
side, right?
Is it bad when I talk?
No, yours is fine.
Oh, well, this is your fault then.
Well, maybe I just go back behind the scenes and you just do this by yourself.
It sounds really, really echoey. Awesome.
What if I mute? Okay, what if I mute? No, then you can't hear me.
Just hang on tight with us. Technical difficulties, no big deal.
Okay, so I'm. Wait, are we good now?
No.
No. I don't know why. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing.
Hey everyone, this is Connor Fox here, a tight end at Kansas State University, and you're listening to the FLOGcast Network.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back again. Yes, to the FLOGcast Network. Jay Ruff in the house still, but we dropped Q. We dropped the crap out of him. He was echoing. We don't want to hear. Heck, one voice of Q is enough. So we do not want multiple voices echoing on this show. So heck, we cut the crap out of him. He is still backstage where he belongs. So today I apologize greatly and heavily, but it's just me today. It's going to be a lot of this. It's going to be a lot of the mouth moving, lots of words, lots of personal opinion. But heck, that's what puts me in this seat, pays the big bucks here on this vlogcast. No big deal. Today is a very simple day. We were just going over the week 4 recap. And who beat who, and also at the end we'll go over the waiver wire pickups, available guys on your team on the waiver wire, possibly to snag up for week 5. Week 4 over with. Q, no big deal. You can't hear me. That's good. So I can talk crap about your team, but no talking crap about your team. Q, we'll go ahead and start. Um, we'll go ahead and start. Holy moly, I didn't realize it was that close. We'll start with your team. The Philadelphia Queefles ended up defeating the Terry's Terrorists. Holy moly, 173.3 to 173.0. 0.3 points. Q escaped with the victory. I didn't realize that was that close. Q, congrats. Good for you. I guess I'm assuming it came down to the last game. You had a last game, not sure. Not sure exactly, but I mean, 49ers? Yeah, 49ers. There you go. 49ers escaping with the victory. But heck, you beat Terry, pushing him to 1-3, giving you a 3-1 record, head of the pack in the Flockcast. Let's start with your team, TC. Tom Brady. Holy moly, he's back. Had a great game against Kansas City. Ended up losing, of course, but he did well. 28.4 fantasy points for Tom Brady. He ended up going 39 for 52. He threw the ball 52 times. Holy moly. That's almost his age. Almost his age. He threw almost, but he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. One fumble there, but he did give Q 28.4 fantasy points. We know what happened. Lamar Jackson did not have a great game, 13.9. So that's a negative there. Also, heck, when you're starting Devin Singletary, as your prime running back, only giving you 9.6, but things could be worse. He put up 173.3 fantasy points, 0.3 more than his opponent. So he ended up with success. Jamal Williams did very well. 23.4 fantasy points. He ran the ball, replacing Swift for 19 times, over 100 yards, saw the end zone once. Great replacement there. Great backup for Mr. Q Blunt. If you have Jamal Williams, good for you. What's that? So good for you there, Jamal Williams, snagging him up. We do have a Twitch chat that I will look at here right now. It's not popping up, but we will look at that here in a little bit. Let's keep, what does it say, Q? Yeah. So he just traded Damon Pierce, Curtis Samuel for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he got Brown for Pierce and Samuel. Interesting. That's a very interesting trade. I don't think I would have done that, especially after seeing what Pierce did last night. Very good. Curtis Samuel had one bad week last week. He is still going to be heavily involved in that Washington defense. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. St. Brown is a very shiny penny. All right, but I'm sure that you probably had some more running backs in your tank there other than Pierce. You're probably, hopefully, possibly using Pierce as your flex option. You're probably lacking in the wide receiver category. St. Brown can do that. So if you look at your roster, I'm sure you did that for a reason. But again, now seeing what Pierce, he's getting heavily involved in that offense. They're going to keep doing that more and more. He has C. Mac, Connor, and now Keenan Allen and Brown. Okay. Oh, well, heck, I don't know. James Conner kind of scares me now. Back-to-back weeks under 10 points and half PPR in our league. He's getting, a little bit slower. I mean, when it comes to tension. But again, you can see, I like Dameon Pierce. His explosiveness. They did use Burkhead, Houston in the backfield. I think he got five catches and a touchdown in the air. So they're using him a little bit more, when it comes to that. But I mean, heck, Dameon Pierce is looking pretty good, especially last week. But I wouldn't say that was a thumbs down, trade, because you did get St. Brown. But I think it's not bad. Well, not bad. So appreciate that. Appreciate you watching us and chipping in there. Let's continue with Q's team. Okay. We have Devontae Williams putting up 15 fantasy points. Not bad. Deontay Johnson. It's going to be interesting what he does with Deontay Johnson. I mean, heck, this last week was his first week in the last 3 weeks. Not really getting a lot. So it's going to be interesting with Deontay Johnson, how he jumps in with the rookie, because they are certain that rookie and Kenny Pickett. So with Q, I mean, heck, he got targeted only 4 times, caught 2 of them for 11 yards. He does have, heck, DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams and Chris Godwin, who came back first week, put in 9.4 fantasy points. But the positives, actually seeing Christian McCaffrey scoring over 20 points, so that's a good thing. There, if you're a McCaffrey owner, first time this year scoring over 20 points. He still has only had 1 touchdown on the ground, 1 touchdown in the air. Last week was his first touchdown in the air. He caught the ball 9 times for 81 yards. So he did well in that, in that field. But still, I mean, so again, like, yes, sir, may I have another for Christian McCaffrey? Continue the 20 plus points if you are an owner there on Q's bench. Josh Reynolds did well, 17.1. I'm sorry, 17.6. Allen Robinson. Is Allen Robinson a drop? I mean, heck, this is a thing here with Allen Robinson. Okay, I mean, he's only scored plus 10 points one time. He's saw the end zone only one time. Last week was just awful. I mean, he's getting looked at. Last 3 weeks, he's been looked at 5 or more times. Last week, he was looked at 6 times, targeted 6 times, only caught 2 of those. So, is it okay to drop Allen Robinson? I say yes. Most people will hang on to him because that name is still kind of attractive. But with Allen Robinson, heck, man, I just don't know because I mean, Stafford just is in love so much with Cooper Kupp. It's heck, I don't blame him. But with Allen Robinson, I just don't know. Even if you hang on to him, when are you going to start him? You don't. If you put him in there, you don't want. You don't want the last 2 weeks. I mean, is a prime example. You don't want a 3.3 result. You don't want a 1.7 result. I mean, heck, that's why I think it's okay now to drop him. And if someone else snags him and starts him, I mean, be like, all right, man, well, I didn't want to deal with that headache. So I think it's okay to drop Allen Robinson now if you have an Allen Robinson on your roster and bench. Terry's terrorist, Matthew Stafford. Heck, man, not having the year. He is position ranked quarterback, not overall, position ranked quarterback, position 28th quarterback in our league. It's 2 weeks out of 4 that he's had under 10 points. He's only had 1 week over 20 points. 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions so far this year. I mean, if you're in a 2 quarterback league like we are, I think it's time to start searching for someone else. And prime example for this league, Marcus, he had Trey Lance. He picked up Geno Smith, who's been effective for $7. So right now, that's a good grab for Marcus Terry. If Geno Smith, if he's still available in your league, snag him. Especially if you have 2 quarterbacks starting in your roster. Geno Smith is right now looking pretty good. He's ahead of like prime names like Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson. I mean, he's there, man. He's there. He's a top 10 quarterback right now in our league. Boom, mind blowing right there. So, I mean, heck, I think Marcus has to do some quarterback shopping, and we can go through who is available in our league, anyways. I mean, heck, do you trust? Do you trust? I mean, do you trust a Matt Ryan? Do you trust someone like that, or heck, a Kenny Pickett over Matt Stafford? I know Matthew Stafford has Cooper Kupp. I know we've seen what Matt Stafford can do. But right now, you can't have Matt Stafford in the lineup until you see at least 1 week, or you just bite the bullet. I mean, I don't know. I mean, right now it's not looking good for Matthew Stafford. And with the rest of Marcus's team, he's got Fournette, 14.9, Joe Mixon, 15.4. I mean, they met the projection score, which is good. But Deebo Samuel, beautiful catch last night. He had I can't remember who it was, but that I think it was a corner or safety, try to go for a safety or a pick 6 is what it was going to be. And Deebo caught it through a high, Jimmy G did, so Deebo could catch it, and boom, he just sliced and diced. He drove right on by every Rams defender. So, I mean, heck, man, it was a very good week for Deebo. And his first touchdown, that's what we're used to out of Deebo Samuel. And so I'm sure Marcus and every Deebo Samuel owner be like, oh, yes, thank goodness. So good week for him. Mike Evans, having Mike Evans back. Yes, sir. He had a great week, 26.3 fantasy points for him. Drake London, heck, when Pitts is involved, London is not. When London is involved, Pitts is not. So, I mean, hopefully it's not like that all year. But Pitts did very well last week. London did not. I'm still very high on this rookie. No big deal there. Travis Kelsey, number one tight end. I mean, he's just looking, prettier and prettier. Again, James Conner, 9.2 fantasy points. Kind of discussed it. That's 3 weeks in a row, now scoring over 10 points. That's 3 weeks in a row, not seeing the end zone. Last week, I mean, he had 15 carries. Some concern there for James Conner. If someone is looking to cough up something for James Conner, I would possibly bite on it, because right now, especially if you have some, what's that? It does, especially if you have some ammo in that. We got a chat on YouTube. Should I get rid of Devontae Adams, Pitts, Juju, 4? So this is a big one. Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Miles Sanders, and Dalton Schultz. Okay, so he's got Devontae Adams, Pitts, Juju, and you're going to be getting Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Miles Sanders, Dalton Schultz. No, you should not do that. Because Devontae Adams, he's not having the year that that he's had in the past. Well, come on, man, it's Devontae freaking Adams. I mean, come on, man. You can. I mean, Carr is no cupcake. He'll be fine. Devontae Adams will be fine. Pitts. I mean, last week is what we were used to, and continue to see more of Pitts stuff like that. I am not a Juju fan, so that is out of there. Deontay Johnson's got a question mark now. See what he does with the rookie and Pickett. Ken Allen hasn't played since week 1. You know what I'm saying? And Miles Sanders, I mean, he's playing for the best team right now, so that's not a good one. I say no. Don't go for that trade. Devontae Adams is the key star for that. You have one of the possible youngest, best tight ends in the league. I would hang on to those guys and hang on and not make that trade, my man. Appreciate that. Thanks for the question. So let's continue down the list here. Marcus's team, Cordell Patterson, Gonzo. He's out for at least 4 to 5 weeks with an injury there. It's going to be interesting who is involved with the backfield of Atlanta. I know we got that rookie Algier. We have a 2-year guy out of Ball State and Huntley. So those guys, one guy is available in our league and waiver. Algier, though, is available in lots of leagues. So, I mean, it's not a bad, not a bad snag if you're looking for a running back. But I see, because they kind of split already, I see these guys kind of splitting a little bit more. I mean, like, I think Algier is going to have maybe a 60-40, possibly 65, in percent share. I think it's going to be Algier seeing most of that, but Huntley's going to be involved in there. And he didn't look that bad, rookie. I mean, 2-year guy out of Ball State. So he also has Marcus Melvin Gordon, another injury there, opening that up. But with Melvin Gordon, heck, man, he fumbled right away, and I think it was the first quarter when he got the ball. So that's some, he only carried the ball 3 times. Boone is still available, but I think they're gonna. I mean, they're paying Melvin Gordon pretty good, so I think they're gonna use him a little bit more. But Boone will be involved. He certainly will. So heck, Marcus again had a pretty good week, but ended up losing to 0.3. Not a good season start for the Terrorists. Let's move on to my team. We'll make it sweet and pretty. I ended up getting, actually, it felt like I was getting destroyed, but I only lost by 12.6 fantasy points. 142.6 for Scotty's team to 130.0 my team. Not lots of positives on my end. I mean, heck, I do have probably the one. I mean, Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb doing very good for me right now, especially Derrick Henry the last 2 weeks. We were blessed to see him live last week. It was very good. A couple of runs that Derrick Henry had. Back-to-back weeks scoring over 20 points. Back-to-back weeks, 3 weeks in a row, actually, seeing the end zone. So, I mean, I think it's, they're going to keep doing that. I mean, heck, he's ran the ball three out of 4 weeks, over 20 times. And this is kind of what the offseason was telling us. We're just gonna run the crap out of this guy, and they're finally doing that first week, running over 100 yards. And so I think that's a pretty thing if you're a Derrick Henry owner. And also Nick Chubb, man, he's probably one of the smoothest runners in the league right now. And you can tell. I mean, he's number one position ranked. He's looking very good. There is no there is no concern with Hunt currently right now. So, Nick Chubb looking very good, averaging 20.7. So hopefully, in fantasy wise, hopefully that continues. Devontae Smith is a no show. Stephon Diggs, one of my best wide receivers, or the best wide receiver in the league. Still, actually, no, he's second. Someone snagged him. Dang it. But I mean, 8.2 fantasy points, no concern there for Stephon Diggs, Devontae Smith. I mean, this is something that we might have to expect. Maybe a hit and miss kind of season, kind of similar, to Mike Williams. That kind of. I think Devontae Smith is talented, more talent, has more talent than Mike Williams. But I mean, heck, when you got AJ Brown, sometimes that might happen. So I think you just bite the bullet here. You still continue to start him, keep you in your lineups for Devontae Smith. Because, again, if he is sitting peacefully, smiling on your bench when he goes off again for 20 plus points, you will slap yourself in the face. I guarantee you that. All right, so continue to start Devontae Smith. Same thing with Kurt Samuel. Again, 5.8 fantasy points. You just got to keep starting him, I believe. He's still a top 15, I believe. Well, he's 16th in our league in wide receivers. He will have that was his first, I believe, Q. You can jump on if you want to see if it works, Q. But I think that was his worst week was last week. It was. Well, back-to-back weeks under 10 points. First 2 weeks were very good. First 2 weeks he saw the end zone. Last 2 weeks he has not. But I do believe that could be his worst week. Ezekiel Elliott 9.1. James Robinson 2.9. Don't worry about that. I mean, Philadelphia has been taking everyone to the woodshed. Everyone. Philadelphia defense doing very well. Held James Robinson to 2.9 fantasy points. So continue to start him. And possibly, heck, in the future, realize who the Philadelphia Eagles are going up against because they're doing very well. My bench, I have a couple of guys, Tyler Lockett, Alec Pierce, Tyler Gier, and Gerald Everett, all scoring over 10 points. Not bad there. But let's move on to Scotty's team. Patrick Mahomes definitely helped him out with 26.2 fantasy points. Tua did not. But that's not his fault there. Austin Eckler did. Absolutely went off. Of course, he went off against me. 31.9 fantasy points. That pushes Austin Eckler to where he belongs in the rankings. 5 in running back categories, half PPR. His first touchdown in the air, his first touchdown on the ground. He had 3 total last week against Houston. Just dominated them. And only running the ball 13 times. Only catching is 6. And that's his third best this year out of 4 weeks, if that tells you anything. But 3 touchdowns, that definitely pushes the points up to 30. So again, that's very good to see. If you're, and heck, I own a few Austin Ecklers in my 21 league. So he and that's definitely nice seeing him go off. Harris only 7.4. That's negative. Michael Pittman. It's tough because again, I was there live. I watched the game. Matt Ryan did not play well. He did get Paris Campbell a little bit more involved there. Again, like I mentioned, Alec Pierce scored more than Michael Pittman Jr. And that, heck, he didn't last week. He scored 11.2. Pittman did. And the week before that, he didn't play. So I think he was targeted 6 times. Continue to put trust and start Michael Pittman because the boom is so boomy you gotta keep him in your lineup. And another again, Damian Pierce going absolutely nuts. And it's heck, back to back weeks doing very well. And each week he has improved. Each week he's seen more action. I know he ran the ball less than he did week 3 last week, but he saw more tension in the air. He caught the ball 6 times. So um, Damian Pierce looking like a shiny penny on Scotty's team. Speaking of shininess, his bench went off as well. Josh Jacobs, 32 points. Miles Sanders, 28.6. Alan Lazard, 14.6. And no, that's it. Oh, Tyler Higbee did well as well. So, heck, he might have a decision to make, Scotty, next week. With Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders. Got another question from Pata. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He's 1-4 in your league. He needs players. Okay, so that Pata, if that's who you got, okay. I wonder. Let me ask you this: Who's your running backs? Who do you got in the running back category? And who also do you have on your wide receiver next to Devontae Adams? Because you got Devontae Adams, wide receiver number 1, Pitts, your tight end. I hope Juju is not your wide receiver 2, because that's why probably you're 1-4. And hopefully you got some. I wouldn't say trading Devontae Adams will get you out of that 1-4 hole, because I don't think Deontay Johnson and Keenan Allen will pull you out. So again, if you're doing this to inherit Miles Sanders, that's why I'm asking you about your running backs, because if they're if you're trying to trust yucky guys like Rashard Penny, who had a good week, he found a squirrel, he found a nut, yeah. But I mean that's probably why. So put down who you got there, Peta, and we'll help you out a little bit more. Moving on to Scotty's team. I was talking about his bench, did very well. Miles Sanders, yes, and heck, and he still has Michael Thomas. So, and he did not have a good week. 142.6, not a good week. So heck, and especially with one of your quarterbacks going down early. So Scotty Benzine is lucky to be 3-1 right now. Let's move on to another close one. We had lots of close ones. We have 2 of them, maybe 3 that are pretty close. Even the other one was pretty close. So Savage Patch Kids, downing the Brownie Batter team 146.6 to 145 points, giving TC his first victory of the year. Congrats, TC. You did it. You won. You won one matchup out of 4 weeks. You did it. You have the same record as the Brownie Batter team. Good for you. Good for you. This is possibly going to be the toilet bowl preview. It is. This is not a both of these rosters are not attractive. Let's start with the Brownie Batter team. Russell Wilson, like I said, has not been doing good. He's been doing better than Matthew Stafford. He's ranked position 14th, but with Russell Wilson, we heck, he's supposed to be up there. He's supposed to be a top 10 quarterback, and on a new team with heck, it's weird to see him not doing well. But he had a good week against Las Vegas, his very first good week. You can kind of say that week 1 was a little bit weird against Seattle, but 18.8 fantasy points. But the week before, week 3 last week, 2 weeks ago actually, San Francisco, he just did awful. He looked awful, not looking good. But this week, he was 17 for 25, had 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, also saw one on the ground. So that is the Russell Wilson that we're expecting. So hopefully, if you're a Russell Wilson owner, you see more of that. Derek Carr did not do well with 11.4. And heck, moving down the list, Barkley's looking good. I think he is position ranked 2, leading the NFL in yards, I believe. So I mean, he's looking like 3 years ago, Barkley, which is why you know Connor took him back, wanted him back. So he's looking good. It's uh, yeah, 17.2 fantasy points, 146 yards. That's 2 weeks now out of four. He's had over 100 yards. So, and it's also every week he's had over 70 yards. Every week he's had, oh, no, week 3 he had 14 carries, but still did very well with 20.6. Just a great year so far for Barkley. So good take there. He did have Herbert, his his running back option. 10.6, we'll take it. We'll take it. I know it's under his projection score, but it could have been worse. It really could have. Losing to the Giants there, ha ha ha. AJ Brown, 12 points. And Tyreek Hill looking very good with 20.9, catching the ball last week against Cincinnati, 10, targeted 14, the most so far this year for Tyreek Hill. Garrett Wilson was a negative in the starting lineup for Connor Lindback, only 5.1. But Kyle Pitts, I thought he did better. Oh, that's not good. I thought he did better. Here it is saying Kyle Pitts. When Kyle Pitts does bad, London does good. London does, but for some reason I thought he did a lot better than 3 points. That's not good. That is not good for Kyle Pitts owners, man. That's 3 weeks now out of 4 that he has been under 10 points. And this is probably the worst because he was targeted for and he only caught one of those, 25%. Last time I checked, that is not good. That is not good. So, he has 21 in tight ends. But you know what? I still don't think that it's something to go absolutely nuts about. I think Kyle Pitts is extremely talented. Mariota, we could blame this on him because heck, last year, I think Scotty mentioned this in our group chat last year. This kid had over 1,000 yards. I mean, he was a rookie tight end. That doesn't happen. And now he's struggling. So, I mean, it might take some time. Okay. And again, I know you got some guys, one in full hole, in fantasy leagues, not doing that good. They need help now. Kyle Pitts isn't helping. We understand that. But I mean, right now, Kyle Pitts, I mean, I think it will get better. Just hang on tight. And again, with the Brownie batter team, he's got Juju still for some reason on his bench, or I'm sorry, in his second flex option. Again, I've just never been a Juju guy. That's 3 weeks out of 4 he's had under 10 points. And that 1 week he had 11.4. Hasn't had a touchdown. I just don't think he's a starting wide receiver right now. I don't think he should be in your starting lineups. I don't think unless we see something more attractive. And right now, it's not happening. It's not happening. So I think you need to get Juju out of your lineups if you have him in. And I think that's what Connor needs to do. I don't understand why Connor's in. And just looking at Connor's his other guys, it's tough. I mean, he's got Robert Woods, who did well this week, but not, hasn't had the most attractive year. Darnell Mooney is alive. He's alive. Holy cow. In the last 3 weeks, he's been a ghost. We honestly had a health check on him because we didn't know he was there or played. But he's still playing football. Shockingly, he caught the ball 4 times for 94 yards. Hopefully, this is a turning point for Mooney. If you got rid of him, which I did in a couple leagues, I mean, I don't blame you because it's just that throwing game wasn't the most attractive. I wouldn't, absolutely take your shirt off and, go after this guy if he's available. $1, heck, you snag him up on your waiver wire and see what he else, because again, this is just possible breakout guy. So, it might take some other, time for him. And Robert Woods, seeing the end zone, first time this year, good for him. Back-to-back weeks over 10 points, something to monitor and see how good Robert, especially with Burks, that rookie, Traylon Burks, turf toe, out for a couple games possibly. So Robert Woods could be a good snatch there if he is available. George Pickens, another guy to monitor, had a very good week. He might be, heck, he might be Kenny Pickett's best friend. He really might be. I mean, he looked like it last week. 6 catches, 102 yards. He did 13.2 fantasy points without a touchdown. So, I mean, this might be, and each week he's gotten better. Each week he's got more targets. So he going into that NFL flow as a rookie. He had that beautiful catch last week against Cleveland on Prime TV. So I think this is a good snatch here for Connor. Possibly, maybe a good I would start Pickens over Juju. I honestly would. So I think that's something that he might do. Let's move on to Savage Patch Kids. His keepers, his 2 quarterback keepers did well. 22 points for Joe Burrow, 23.1 for Justin Herbert. Again, it's those 2 guys scoring over projection score than what they were predicted to have. So again, that's a W for TC. Brees Hall. He is starting to get more and more touches. I think can't remember. I think it was like 42-29 versus Michael Carter when it comes to snaps. Brees Hall has definitely, turned himself into what we thought. That's 3 weeks in a row, having over 10 points. And even that under 10-point game week that he had, week 1, he had 7.1. And he caught the ball 6 times. And so if you can have that as your worst week, and again, Michael Carter went off that week. So Brees Hall, if you have him, good for you. Good for you not trading him. Good for you not dropping him. If you did, you're silly. So right now, especially in Dynasty Leagues, Keeper League, the one this one's in, it's looking pretty good right now. If you have yourself some Brees Hall, Tony Pollard, yuck. What a bad week for him. No quarterback, no running backs did well against Washington last week. Ezekiel Elliott did not. Tony Pollard did not. Elliott had a better week than Pollard last week, which is weird. But Pollard 1.3, that was yucky. Higgins did well, 21.9. Joshua Palmer was in his lineup for some reason. He did not do good. Let's see on his bench here. Zach Wilson, 19.2, but he doesn't really have, AJ Dillon should be started. I would not have said that, draft time, but AJ Dillon's going to put up good flex numbers. Especially, next week he's going up against New York. The week after that, another New York team. So, heck, I think you got to start him, especially on a weak TC team. So I think TC needs to start him, even though he hasn't had a touchdown since week 1. I think the time is near for the Savage Patch Kids. So moving him, finally a win for that team. Thank goodness. Let's move on to our last matchup. We got the Tennessee Titans defeating the Magic School Bus 172.0 to 154. I'm sorry, 100. I lost it. 157.5. Moving Keegan's team 2-2, and the Tennessee Titans to 3-1. Josh Allen, of course, did well against Baltimore. Didn't at first though. Took a little slow, little bumpy ride, but they ended up beating Baltimore by 3. Jalen Hurts, 15.8. Again, that's not what Skin or a Jalen Hurts owner's been used to. Heck, I mean, the last 3 weeks he's been on cloud 9, cloud 10, if there's such a thing. So, I mean, he's been very good. His lowest score was 24 points. So this week, 15.8. Hopefully, that's his weakest game. Is he didn't have a touchdown. He had one on the ground. But heck, things could be worse if you own Jalen Hurts. So, no problem there. But Jonathan Taylor, again, not doing good. He is the 21st running back. Wow. Right. 21st running back. I mean, it's so far it's just not looking good. His week one was outstanding against Houston, 160 some yards and a touchdown. He has not seen the end zone since then. He is suffering an injury. On Friday or Thursday, we'll bring Skin on and maybe see what that is, the details on that. But ankle injury, something to monitor. He does play this Thursday against Denver. So I know Shaq Leonard is gone for that game for a concussion. So it's someone to monitor. Of course, he will for Jonathan Taylor. But again, last week, he even ran the ball 20 times for only 42 yards. And he gave you 2.8 fantasy points. That is not good. Again, Indy did not look good, especially the first half of that game against Tennessee. They did not look good. And I would say keep giving Jonathan Taylor the ball, but heck, he saw it 20 times. So I mean, right now, I coughed up. I offered Skint a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of picks for Jonathan Taylor. I mean, when I say a whole bunch, I mean a lot. Like all I had, and he declined it. So I wonder if Skin's kind of hitting himself for this. But again, very talented kid. I see it progressing and getting better. Uh, again, Rashard Penny saw not 28.2 fantasy points against the Detroit Lions. Had the best best game in his career. Heck, first time this week finding the end zone, and he found it twice. And scoring over 20 points. Good job for Rashard Penny. You get one of those. Good job. Cooper Kupp last night, 19.2 fantasy points. And Justin Jefferson. Heck, if he didn't have a good week, it was going to be blah, 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 blah to Mr. Jacob McKinley. But again, first game, this is his best game this year. Finding the end, finding the end zone 0 times still, and he gave you 26 fantasy points. Finding the end zone in the air. He saw his first touchdown on the ground. Good for him. So again, that helped his points. But it's good to see Justin Jefferson getting going again. Christian Kirk, no show. Darren Waller, not a top 10 tight end as of right now. He did not have a good week with 3.9. Brandon Cooks did well, 15.2 fantasy points. With 7 catches there, seeing the end zone one time. And Rashard Bateman, only 3.2. J.K. Dobbins can be in there now, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire can be in there over Bateman, which I think that's what Skin will end up doing. Honest question, and then we'll move on to Keegan's team. Travis Etienne. Again, I can't remember who. Oh, yeah, Allen Robinson. We kind of talked about dropping. Now, I know it's super weird discussing this already. Okay? Travis Etienne, should we drop him? Or even consider dropping him? I don't think you should yet. But, I mean, I've heard, a couple of podcasts already discussing it, talking about it. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I mean, this guy was a first-round draft pick. He didn't play at all last year. Heck, right now, I think if you're Jacksonville, you're okay with it because you got James Robinson. Let Travis Etienne get into his flow. Get his swag back in his legs. So I think you hang on to Travis Etienne a little bit longer. Again, Philadelphia, they've been eating everybody up. So, but again, the last 3 weeks, he just hasn't been good. I understand that. And it's been James Robinson's show, believe me. But, Travis Etienne, just hang on to him. Do not drop Travis Etienne. I know it's tempting. A guy who's not scoring at all, fantasy-wise. Not even flex numbers, a 9. Ugh. So, I mean, and then last week, 3.2. Don't start him, but don't drop him. Okay, there you go. But if you're Skin, drop him, please. I'll snag him up. But I don't think, again, lots of guys drafted this guy early. So that's why we're hanging on to him. Believe me, I'm one of them. But do not drop him. And with J.K. Dobbins, I think he should be in the starting category as of right now. This is the week we've been waiting for J.K. Dobbins. This is the week we've been waiting to Google and look at because he had a very good week. 13. 13 carries. He saw the end zone, and he was actually targeted a little bit in the air, which is good to see. So 20.3 fantasy points for Mr. JK. That's good. Moving on to Keegan's team. His running backs did fantastic. Jared Goff, 37.1 fantasy points. He is, wait for it, a top 5 quarterback right now. It's weird. I mean, heck, believe me, I don't know if I drafted, but I gambled on Jared Goff a couple years ago, and he bit me right in the butt. Did not do good. So I have not since then been a Jared Goff fan, but he's looking good right now. Just putting up points. His second week out of 4, scoring over 30 points. Again, last week was not that good, but if you got a quarterback giving you 14.8, there could be worse days. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a 2 quarterback league, I think he's a starter. If you have a 1, it really depends. Heck, just top of my head, Jared Goff or Tom Brady. It's really because Tom Brady the last 3 weeks has not been good. Last week he did good, 28 some fantasy points. So that is in the category of what is going to be matchup thing is what you're going to be looking at if you have Jared Goff in 1 quarterback league. So I mean, if you have Jared Goff, good for you. A top 10, top 5 right now quarterback. Surprisingly, Kyler Murray, like I said, 24.8 fantasy points. Dalvin Cook though, only 9.6. Now here's the thing about Dalvin Cook. He's not a top 20 running back right now, which is shocking to say. But I mean, his highest score so far this year is like 13 fantasy points. He's only saw the end zone 1 time. Last week he did run time the most he's done this year, 20 times. But they're using Madison a little bit more. They're using him more in the goal line. They're using him more in third line down in third, down backs. And so I mean, it's if you have Dalvin Cook, I'm not gonna say trade him, but it's tough. I mean, because Madison's getting highly involved in that offense, which he should. He's a good back, and he has been. So let's move on to Aaron Jones, 13 points. Jamar Chase having another kind of week, 10 points. He hasn't, went off since week 1 against Pittsburgh. He's targeted only 6 times. That's not good, but Miami has strong defense. Nothing, heck, I traded for Jamar Chase because I needed a wide receiver in another league. Right now, it's not looking good for me, but it's Jamar freaking Chase. Calm down, it'll be all right. Jalen Waddle, 4.9 fantasy points, but heck, he's still a top 5 wide receiver in most leagues. That was his worst week. He's all right. He'll bounce back against New York next week. New York Jets. Javonte Williams, tough. That's tough stuff right there. Injury, season-ending injury. It's going to be interesting what Keegan does. It's going to be interesting what he does in the future because do you keep Javonte Williams? Especially with his old man running backs that he already has. And it wasn't like Javonte Williams was just, mind-blowing stats. He didn't. So it's going to be an off-season move for Keegan if he ends up keeping him. Again, with Melvin Gordon, see what happens there. But, I mean, so he might have a decision to make if he wants to keep Javonte Williams or if he ships him to someone else who does. If you're in a keeper league there. Mark Andrews. 2.5 fantasy points. He is fine. He's still position ranked 2 in the tight end category. Back-to-back weeks before that prior were over 20 with 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. This week he was targeted 5 times, only caught 2 for 15 yards. So Buffalo did a very good job defending the tight end spot. So I mean, he is still a starter. But here's the thing: Keegan had T.J. Hugginson on the bench, which he should have. I'm not saying that was a bad move. But T.J. Hugginson went absolutely off. Moving him, bumping him to a top 3 tight end. 179 yards. Now, again, here's the thing. Keegan was going absolutely nuts. I think he told me about Hutchinson getting all these catches and touches about 20 times, maybe 23. And I'm like, dude, St. Brown was not playing. I don't believe. Right, Q? He wasn't playing. So it's that's a thing you got to realize. I'm like, dude, he's on your bench. Why are you bragging? Well, someone else is going to try to, going to offer me draft picks or is going to offer me something for TJ. I say give another week, because the weeks before that, it was before TJ Huggins's second year in the league that he actually looked good. A top one or a top 10 draft pick is what he was. So I mean, he will show glimpses. I don't think it's anything you throw draft picks at as of right now, because again, they didn't have their best wide receiver. So calm down, Keaton Scott. It was 1 week. It was 1 week. Continue to sit him on your bench. Continue to not use him. But heck, I mean, if you have someone else. I mean, if you don't have someone else in the league, top 3 tight ends. As of right now, you have one crazy week. Stevenson for New England is looking back-to-back weeks, 10 points. 10.9 might be a good, strong flex option. Someone that you could probably trust, possibly, in your flex spot. Jeff Wilson was also sitting in his bench. A guy that you could trust. I mean, heck, 3 weeks in a row since Mitchell's went out, he's had over 10 points. So, I mean, last night he saw the end zone, ran the ball 18 times, 74 yards. I mean, this guy deserves to be on your starting lineup. Even with Keegan's team, I think now, yes, he should be. Because, Javonte Williams gone. So it's going to be interesting to see if he starts Gabe Davis, who did not have a good week, or he's got options. He really does. Jeff Wilson, T.J. Hawkinson, Gabe Davis, and DJ Moore, and then Stevenson. So he's got some options, but I do believe Jeff Wilson is ahead of all those guys. Even with matchups to see what he's got next week, he has Carolina. So, but I think he is the prime back there. He's the main guy, and he will give you 15 plus carries. And again, last night he scored. That was his first touchdown. But again, he's a good flex option. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's it. That is our matchups for last week. Thursday we will be on to discuss this current week. But let's real fast talk about the available guys in the quarterback category. I did mention, I think Marcus needing a quarterback. You got Jameis Winston, Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, and Baker Mayfield. The top 5 possibly slogan protection score. Jacoby Brissett, Teddy Bridgewater stepping in for 2 of week 1, going up against a weaker New York Jets team. Ryan Tannehill going up against weaker Washington team. If you're streaming quarterbacks, might be good options for you. Keep your eye on Kenny Pickett. I know he threw in 3 interceptions. I know that. I'm aware of that. All right, but keep your eye on Kenny Pickett and see what he does against Buffalo. Not a good start. I mean, with Buffalo, his first start against Buffalo. Tough defense there. The best so far in passing quarterbacks. So just keep your eye on him. See what he does. Monitor him. If you want to pick him up, pick him up. And just see what he does. But again, that's a tough first start for the rookie out of Pittsburgh. Let's move on to the running backs. Available running backs in our league. We got JT McKissick's been there all year. Rex Burkhead. Interesting. Heck, this year I've been in a lot of my leagues. I've been doing the backup running back stuff. Because to get the handcuffs, because right now that's what Rex Burkhead that's what he is backup. So what if Damian Pierce breaks a nail? Who they have? Heck, Marlon Mack, who they just picked up. No, they dropped him. Exactly. So Rex Burkhead, if something happens, it's him. So if you have an available spot on your bench, snag him up. Mike Boone might be a popular waiver wire pickup alongside with Caleb Huntley. Those two guys again, Huntley and Agier, I think will be kind of a share thing. I think Huntley is going to be the backup, and Agier is going to be there. And same thing with Mike Boone and Melvin Gordon. But with Mike Boone, let's go to him real quick. Oh, computer's freezing. Jesus. Mike Boone. Again, I wouldn't cough up much for him. My computer's frozen. Okay, so another guy. Let's Isaiah Pinkley. I think is a good one too. To monitor and keep track of. So let's move on. Okay, maybe my computer is frozen. 1 second. Okay. Who else, Q, is on the waiver wires for the wide receivers? Chase Claypool, well deserved on that spot. Russell Gage. Russell Gage, not a bad one. It really depends for Russell Gage with those wide receivers who's available. I mean, when it comes to time, because you got Julio Jones, Mike Evans stepped in, but I mean, again, I wouldn't really bite the bait on Russell Gage, just yet. I got it now. Q. Let's with the you got Tyler Boyd, Corey Davis. That's the one I was going to talk about. Corey Davis, Weir, position rank 24, hasn't had the craziest games, but 3 of the 4 weeks he's had over 10 points. Last week was his best week. 5 catches, 74 yards. Saw the end zone, then gave you 15.9 fantasy points. So, might be not a bad option to snag up cheap and see what he can bring you for the next couple of weeks. He might not be a matchup, or when you're approaching bye weeks, somebody you can trust. He's got Miami next week, so I wouldn't consider that. But heck, he's going down the list in his schedule. There might be some times in New England, Chicago, week 11, 12, that he might be able to snack him up. Corey Davis has never been on my yummy list, but if you're looking for someone else, to fill in your bench. And let's go to tight ends. I know. Dawson Knox is available in some leagues. A little bit disappointing year so far for him. And Hayden Hurst had himself a week last week. Kind of. If you saw the end zone for 10.2 fantasy points, nothing to snag here. If I had to pick, Dawson Knox, Logan Thomas, Hayden Hurst, Robert Tanyan, and Irv Smith Jr. I mean, it would, if this week it would probably be Logan Thomas, because heck, he's going up against Tennessee, who doesn't really cover the tight ends that well. Prime example last week with Mo Alley Cox going absolutely nuts. So if you're streaming tight ends, Logan Thomas might not be a bad option. So that's it. Heck, if you're listening to me still so far, just me gabbling around, good for you. Good for you. You get one of those. Good for you. I know. Heck, Q's in the background right now. I can see him playing on his phone, and that's our producer. So heck, I apologize for the technical difficulties. It's more exciting with two guys. I understand that. So thanks for tuning in and listen to us. Q, you got any last words or comments? I'll share. Okay. Okay. So he said that I am absolutely fantastic. My hair looks good, and I am awesome at fantasy. Thank you that for Q. Hey, thank you so much. We will be back on next week, hopefully with a guest. To discuss next week matchups in the waiver wire pickups, possibly some skin report, or that could be Friday. We'll see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. You listen to the FLOGcast Network. Everybody stay safe.
Hey everyone, this is Connor Fox here, a tight end at Kansas State University, and you're listening to the FLOGcast Network.